Listeners, beware! You're in for a scare. Howdy, folks. Welcome to Nightmare on Fear Street. I am your Spooky Dukes host, Zack.
And I'm secretly was a dog the whole time, Meg.
Bork? Question mark?
Bork. Son, you are doing me a frighten.
Yeah, I know that Doge life. But, yeah, so we're back. A little bit of a delay with this episode. Sorry about that, guys. I was defending the world from the living. And, that's about it.
The living.
Yeah, the living.
Mm.
I can't defeat the spooky undead. They're too powerful. The living, now that's an accomplishment.
Yep. As we've said many times before on this show, it is not a huge feat to kill a human being.
Nope. But with, like, space magics, maybe.
Yeah.
Moving along.
We did something a bit different this week, and we have done Goosebumps book that was written recently.
Yes, and by recently we were both, I would say, in our teens almost.
Yeah, definitely, like, past the age where Goosebumps was being marketed at us.
Like, we were actually, it was to the point of age where I would say that me and Meg were like, we're too cool for Goosebumps.
When was this book written? What does the copyright information on the inside say?
2008.
In 2008, oh yeah, I was in 9th grade in 2008. I was too busy watching Death Note and listening to Short Stack and My Chemical Romance. So
Meg, did we, like, have the same, like, grade thing? Because that's exactly what I did.
Okay, but what if the twist is that you are me from an alternate universe?
Well, I mean, it makes sense because apparently your parents were going to name you Zack.
Yeah, they were going to name me Zack if I had been male.
It's possible. I mean, I guess I got to work on my Australian accent, which I won't do here because I might accidentally offend somebody.
So, speaking of long-lost relatives, I gotta start this out by saying that the best friend of the Viewpoint character in Revenge of the Living Dummy has my mom's last name.
Wait, what? Moyer?
Malloy.
Oh, it's Malloy.
So, at first I was thinking to myself, I was like, yes, my long-lost cousin Molly, who I have not spoken to in many a year. And then, later in the book, they meet her dad, and her dad literally sounds like my uncle. Like,
oh my god, no.
Honestly, and they never give him a first name, so he could be named John, or Michael, or Mark, or Brian.
So Meg, how was your spooky week?
Well, I finally got around to playing Dungeons and Dragons with my group.
Welcome to the family.
The first time I had played it since, like, grade 11 or something like that. Like it's been years since I played it. And, because a lot of my, like, friends from then are working now, it was really hard to, like, get the gang back together. But we finally did it. And
it's amazing what you can do when you have bomb colors on the people.
The funny thing, though, is Jamie, who is the DM, bless his heart, he's such a nice guy, but he is a flake sometimes. We confirmed on the morning of Sunday that we were going to come over to his house at 4:30, and he said, yep, that's good. And when I say we, I mean me and my friend Sean. So then we rock up to his house, and he's not there. His sisters are sitting on the porch, dyeing their friend's hair and listening to music. And I was like, hey, is Jamie in? And they're like, no, we haven't seen him since this morning. And so then they call him up, and he's just randomly decided to go do something with his girlfriend because he forgot that people were coming over.
Yep, sounds about like me.
Oh, yeah, this is the same guy who, once we took him to, same group of friends anyway, we all went to comic book convention together called Supernova, and he had lost his phone, so he didn't have a phone on him. And halfway through the convention, he, like, ran into some other friends that he knew from somewhere else, and he was like, I'm just gonna go hang out with these guys. We didn't see him again until 6 o'clock that night, And when we saw him again, he was holding like 3 replica swords.
Ah, so the swords got him. He was just trying to be like Zolo from One Piece.
Yep. Just triple wielding katanas.
Yeah.
Anyway, how about you, Zach? How was your spooky week?
It was a very, very, very spooky week. First, we had Tim Jacobus on the show, so if you haven't heard that episode, yeah, you should stop this episode, and go listen to that. We'll wait. Well, thanks, guys, for listening to that wonderful episode. So the rest of my week was I got to actually hang out with a good friend of, I guess, me and Meg, right? Yeah, I got to hang out with my friend Tyler from the Unfortunate Associates podcast.
And also Cynical Cartoons and
Tainami.
Tainami
And the Adam Sandcast.
Yeah, and Adam Sandcast. And he's a podcast machine. He's just churning them out multiple times a week. I don't know how he does it.
Well, he only does 2 now. He just does Unfortunate Associates, Tainami, and Cynical Cartoons.
Yeah.
But no, it was so much fun. I got to like watch him eat In-N-Out. I got to see this man eat an In-N-Out, and I felt like this is what it's like to like go over to the true power of the dark side.
Do you not like In-N-Out?
Oh, I loved In-N-Out, but it's just like watching a guy go off his diet to eat In-N-Out is like the greatest joy in life. So we hung out. We went up to the Chinese theater, and while we were there, someone handed us their mixtape. And like, it's like, are you gonna pay for this? No, then we can have this right back. And like, what just happened?
The true Hollywood experience. Walking down the street, some total rando is like, hey, here's my mixtape.
So you're gonna pay for that, right? No. Oh, then we can have this back. It was like the stupidest thing. And then we saw wax figures, and then we went to the Ripley's Believe It or Not.
Nice.
That was like really cool.
I love Ripley's Believe It or Not.
Yes, we have the cool one that we have in downtown Hollywood is like I've been there twice in my life, and each time I've gone, the collection just somehow gotten bigger in such a small room. Other thing, my best friend turned 21 this year, or I guess this week. I can't remember half of that conversation, but as of all 21-year-olds, we went and got some drinks, and me and him got some sake, and while we were there, he was feeling really good about himself. And like, you know what, Zach? I'm going to explain to you all of episode 4 of Star Wars: A New Hope. And he did, shot by shot, sloshing his words in so many wonderful ways. And I thought to myself, this man will go far.
That's amazing.
It was funnier because his family was there, and they were like talking. And then halfway through, they realized he was talking about Star Wars, and they all literally stopped and just looked at him, and they let him continue until he finished the thing. We're going to get to, Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi one day, but not that night, because he would have died.
I would love it if somebody made, like, a YouTube channel that was sort of like Drunk History, but it was, like, drunk film history. So it's just, like, you get somebody really drunk to explain a classic movie shot by shot.
That's what he wanted. That was actually his idea halfway through that bottle of sake.
Sake will get you messed up, honestly.
Oh, yeah, no. We got ours for free.
For my graduation dinner, I had sake. We went to a Japanese restaurant that is literally just called sake. Classic Australian lazy naming. So anyway, but you know what neither of us did this week? Neither of us went to a graveyard in the middle of a rainstorm and tried to bury a voodoo doll while being attacked by raccoons.
Wait, that you didn't do that? I did that. This is awkward.
Oh, sorry. I didn't do that. I shouldn't think I could speak for you. I don't know what your life's like.
See, that's what happened right after the sake. We're like, we should just take this voodoo doll that his dad had. It's kind of weird. It says it sucks people's souls out, and so yeah, guys. We read Revenge of the Living Dummy, and Meg, have you ever read a Living Dummy book with Slappy before?
No, I have not ever really been interested in those ones. I don't even think I read them as a kid because I can't, as much as I try to empathize with people who are afraid of dolls and puppets, I cannot myself find those things scary because the whole time I was reading this, I was just like, take the puppet and put it in a fire. It's made of wood. Put it in a fire.
I kept
It's
thinking
like-
of the scene from Child's Play. Like, they could have done that. Like,
Yeah,
speak, girl, throw it in the fire.
Yeah, just throw it in freaking fire, and your problems will be finished. It's like 2 feet tall, and it's made of wood. There's so many ways that you could destroy an evil doll, and nobody ever, like, does them. And also, like, if it tries to attack you, why don't you just, like... I mean, they're kids, so I guess they're not as...
You kick it. That's what you do.
Yeah, just kick it! And, secondly, there's, very uncomfortable, like, abuse undertones in the Slappy books, from what I understand. Like, I've tried, but, every time he, like, hits a small, like, 10-year-old girl and calls her his slave, which happens in all of these books, from what I understand, I just kind of go, eh.
Yeah, that's like Slappy Stranger Danger.
Yeah, Slappy Stranger Danger, exactly. It's like...
But, yeah, no, I've never actually read a Living Dummy book. This is actually the very first one, just because Slappy doesn't really appeal to me. Just because, like you, I'm not afraid of, like, dolls, dummies, and stuff, because my sister had all that stuff growing up.
Yeah.
And, like, once you go past, like, American Girl dolls, it's not bad at all.
So, this book does something... The other thing that we haven't seen on this show yet, that this book does, is it starts the story in medias res, which I really liked.
Yeah, no, it kind of, like... I was trying to think of, like, there's, like... I know there's the, there's always, like, the Danny Phantom episode where it starts and that you instantly get into the action, like, cuts back to 3 weeks later explaining what the hell happened.
Well, that's a pretty common storytelling device, and I really like it. And I also thought it was quite funny that we literally started off with basically that record scratch. That's me. I bet you're wondering how I got into this situation. Well, I'll tell you, ma'am.
Yep. And it's like, also it starts on a dark and stormy night.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
Children literally in a graveyard.
Yeah, and then they get attacked by raccoons, which is kind of horrifying.
The one other cool thing about this book before, we start talking about the cover is that this book actually has a continuity to it.
Yes, and we will explain that more when we get to the second half of the plot, I guess.
So, Meg, do you want to explain this super terrifying cover?
So, this is a very, like, radically different art style to what we're used to. I don't even think it's that similar to the art style in the new Goosebumps redesigns. Like,
no, this is more
ones.
like digital work. This is all
very,
all
like,
completely digital.
This is very video game looking to me, for some reason.
Well, I mean, it makes sense because this was written in the mid-2000s.
What year did we say?
2008. So
2008. So tail end of the noughts. So you've got a looming Horrorland dragon face, with a roller coaster, and
Ferris
a Ferris
wheel.
wheel and a fortune teller's tent, and some kind of ghost mummy in the background, and then in the middle of, like, the jaws of this monster face, like, think of the Luna Park face, but it's, like, drippy and gross and terrifying and bright green.
Yeah, I don't even know what that is. I mean, I know it's a park, but I can just just imagine like a face,
it's got
like
a big
clown face.
The way that you get into Luna Park, it's a big archway that looks like a clown's face.
Okay, so that's exactly what I was about to explain. That's Nightmare Fuel, but yeah. So we get Vord.
And then in the middle there is, you got Slappy, and he's kind of motioning for you to come in, and he's sitting up on the turnstiles that you push through, and then overhead there's clouds in the sky that are blocking out the sun, and there's a bit of lens flare going on just behind the monster head, which I think is kind of cool.
I don't think that's I think that's actually the full moon.
Oh, is that the moon? I thought that was like the sun with a lens flare around it.
No, this isn't Goosebumps Horrorland written by J.J. Abrams. We're not gonna have a part where Slappy like loses his shit and starts beating the shit out of Ethan for like 5 minutes.
Although, let's be honest, that would not be out of character for Slappy. He really loves punching children. And then up the top you have Goosebumps in the new font, the new kind of like edgier, scribblier, trippy font. And then under that, Horrorland in real big letters.
With Revenge of the Living Dummy.
Yep.
All new terrifying series from the Master of Fright.
The Master of Fright until you're like 13 and you're old enough to read grown-up horror books.
Yeah, like Stephen King or Clive Barker.
Yeah, the master of fright for little kids.
For ages 4 and up. So the sad thing about these books, though, is there's no puns.
Yeah, there's no front tagline.
No.
But there's many puns within the book itself. There are many puns.
It makes up for it.
It does. It makes up for it.
The thrill ride begins. Brittany Crosby? I think like Bing Crosby.
Like Bing Crosby, yeah.
Yeah. Think her cousin Ethan is pretty weird, and she happens to be right. Ethan won't stop tormenting Brittany with an old ventriloquist dummy, and the puppet has a plan for Brittany too.
I actually have looked at some of these Horrorland books before. I forget what they were called, but my boyfriend has 2 younger brothers, so he's a little bit like more up on the Goosebumps than I am.
He's up on the bumps?
He's up on the bumps. The bump's gonna goose you. So I knew about I was really excited to read this one because I know that in Horrorland they have like these fake ads on the inside covers, and they're really funny. I love them. So the one in this book is, for extra frights, stay overnight at the Stagger Inn. Your stay includes comfortable beds of nails, sliming pool, daily house creeping. Call ahead, people are dying to get in. Check in, 4 p.m. Check out, no one has checked out yet.
See, this is where like R.L. Stine is like on 100% firing all cylinders A game.
Yeah, like, he's just having so much fun with this Horrorland idea. And I, like, as much as I hate, I hate it. I haven't read it since I was like 11 maybe, but when I read One Day at Horrorland, I think I've been calling it My Trip to Horrorland for ages. That's wrong. It's One Day at Horrorland. I hated that book when I read it because I felt like the ending just completely cheated me. But as much as I hated that book, all of the Horrorland sequels I love, because just R.L. Stine is just having so much fun with all these puns and like coming up with the rides and the horrors, just and the fact that Horrorland is just the worst theme park on earth.
You mean the best theme park on earth? Actually, yeah, it's the best fictional theme park. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna say.
Yeah. Zack cannot make these statements because of his work commitments.
I mean, if I could work for Horrorland, it'd be right next to working at Jurassic World and Westworld. Like, these are all terrible places to work, so don't work at those places.
I mean, I'd work it. So anyway, chapter 1 of this book is the 2 girls, Molly Malloy and Brittany Crosby. They are trying to bury this doll, which is encased in a glass box.
We don't know who it is, but we can assume it's Slappy. And it's kind of like the cuts to 2 weeks ahead.
Yeah, it cuts to 2 weeks earlier. And this is the second book in a row that we've read where a cousin has stolen the main character's room. And they're angry about it.
You know what the funnier thing about this is? Is later on in the book, she said that she wants to kill Ethan.
Oh my god.
I was just like, don't say that. Molly's going to be like, wait, I had an annoying cousin too.
Oh my
so
God.
I have to kill you now. For really real.
Oh no, Ethan crashed my car. I'm 12, but I have a car.
Oh my god, but yeah. And she keeps stealing all of her other dolls. And her fake boyfriend, so all the the grunge metal posters that she has.
Well, he does steal her poster. Slappy does it, but she blames Ethan. Annoying cousin Ethan.
So he comes to stay with this I guess family. How do you pronounce their last name, Meg?
Malloy.
Malloy?
Yeah, Malloy.
Oh, okay. So the Malloys, and he's just like, I'm staying here because my parents are for some reason they see that they're sick.
Yeah, they had to go. It's maybe you'll get lucky. Maybe he missed the bus. Why is he coming to stay with you anyway? His parents had to go away or something, I said. He's even coming to our school. I think he's in the 3rd grade.
Yeah, so he's staying with them for an undisclosed amount of time because their parents have probably been like their patient zeros for the zombie outbreak.
Yeah. I've gotta like bring something up. This happens
Yeah,
a
sure.
few times in, like, Goosebumps books, but also in other kids' books as well. There'll be, like, a character going to stay temporarily with, like, a grandparent or an aunt and uncle, and they change schools. Is that a thing that happens in real life?
Oh, it depends on how long. If it's for like for indefinite amount of time, then yeah, sure. If it's for 2 weeks, what?
I know, like,
No.
he's changing school for just 2 weeks. Like, how hard would it be? He took the bus to get from his parents to his aunt and uncle. Why can't they just put him on the bus to go back to his old town to go to his school?
Because that would be stupid. Or why doesn't like they want to live with their family? I don't know.
I don't know.
It's one of those weird, like, it's kind of like eating on the roof, like in an anime. Like, that doesn't happen in real life. Or does it? I don't know.
Or, like, running to school with toast in your mouth. So, immediately when Ethan shows up, he drops a plate on the ground.
No, it was her mom. Her mom dropped it,
Oh.
and that's all she could talk about for the rest of the night. Oh, how could I have dropped the one plate that I got for, like, 15 cents? Yeah, and, like, Ethan comes to the door, and that's when he has Slappy.
But, his name's not Slappy in this book. Not yet, anyway. For the benefit of the listeners, what does Ethan name Slappy?
Mr. Bad Boy.
Mr. Bad Boy.
Oh, God. I can't, like... I don't know, like, this book made me internally groan, because he goes from Mr. Bad Boy to Slappy to just, like, I'm a bad boy.
That's his catchphrase in this book,
yeah.
and it just makes me think of, do you remember that Family Matters episode with the evil Urkel puppet?
Yeah.
It just made me think of that, like, I'm a bad boy is like one catchphrase step away from, did I do that?
For me, I just kept thinking that Slappy in this book was just voiced by Brad Dourif. But that would make too much sense, and that's just like every evil puppet ever.
See, I was imagining Jack Black from the Goosebumps movie, because that's my point of reference for Slappy.
Well, for me, it was kind of like a mixture of Brad Dourif and like just Weird Al talking by himself. There you go, you got Slappy.
That's really specific, but I feel it.
But yeah, so Ethan comes to stay with them, and then like almost all of a sudden, this book just starts like happening, and Slappy leans into Brittany and says, "Brittany, I'm alive."
So, Ethan came running over to me, holding the dummy in front of him. Mr. Bad Boy, he said, say hi to my cousin Brittany. I saw it coming. I couldn't move in time. The dummy's wooden hand swung up fast and then came down hard, and clunk, slammed me in the forehead. So already Slappy's punching children, his favorite activity.
No, that as we find out later in the book, is it really Slappy?
Oh, yes. So he says, this is very funny to me, the fact that he says, I'm a bad boy, the dummy said in a shrill baby voice. That just makes me think of those, like, what was that thing where it was like a little rabbit and you could record your voice saying something and then the rabbit would say it? Oh, you mean
like I know what you're talking about, like the
app? Yeah, and it's really high-pitched. I'm imagining that, and it's hilarious.
But yeah, then weirder things start to happen, such as Brittany's like, I want to keep my what is it, the Skullboy?
Skullboy is the name of the band, and coincidentally also the name of a character on Ruby Gloom, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and one of them is called Skullboy, I think.
And then, like, she takes her poster, which is also signed and all stuff, and she brings it to, I guess, her new room's like a sewing room, so there's not much space.
You know what why do these parents, like, always insist on, like, completely displacing their own child from, like...
Well, it's kind of like Southern hospitality. You give the person the better room and give your children shit.
Yeah, usually you have a guest room or a fold-out couch, or you set up an aero bed in your child's room, and the two kids share a room. That's always how it's worked in my family.
Yeah, and that's always been for us as well. And it's one of those weird things that happens in books because Brittany needs to kill Ethan
for really reals. So we're introduced to Wild Man Malloy, Molly's dad, who it just weirds me out so much that the way that he's described, he literally sounds like he could be one of my uncles, because it's creepy.
It sounds like just your uncle just swings in. Hey Meg, here's this shrunken head that I got deep from the Mumbo.
I was assuming that it was like Mumbai, but it was a typo.
Oh, I thought it was like Mumba or Moomba. I don't know.
Yeah, it's Mumba, but I was reading it like it was Mumbai, but they just forgot to put the I at the end or something.
Well,
anyway,
seeing how like Africa has like 15 different.
Oh yeah.
Like there's probably hundreds, and they just keep changing every day.
Oh yeah.
It's
definitely
the country formerly known as Mumba.
Yeah. It was that joke from The Simpsons when they go to Africa and it's like, we're now landing in Zanzibar. I'm sorry, the pilot has just informed me that Zanzibar has changed its name to New something else. The pilot's informed me again that they've changed their name to Pepsi Presents New Old Zanzibar.
Yeah. If
So yeah, Wildman Malloy is some kind of like adventuring archaeologist, and he has a Ed and Lorraine Warren style museum of cursed items in his attic.
as all adventurers do.
Yeah, as all cool adventurers do, like all of the good ones.
Indiana Jones, no, doesn't have that. He gives it to the museum.
Yeah, this belongs in the museum.
Wildman Malloy.
No. Wildman Malloy's like, this belongs in my attic, directly above my child's room.
Yes. Hey, if you hear any like weird shrieking from the Ark of the Covenant, just keep it down, okay?
Just wear headphones. So he's got all these shrunken heads and skulls and
like the living room that I want in real life.
Oh yeah, definitely. And it is called the Mind Stealer. Yeah, the Mind Stealer. The legend goes that if you touch it, you are doomed.
I don't know if that's like a real thing.
I mean, it could be.
I mean, it sounds like something that might be actually like a real thing.
Oh yeah, so we have like 2 fake out chapter endings in a row. So we have Ethan pulls a lame prank by throwing his voice to make it sound like the doll's talking or something and freaking out Brittany, real giving her a real harsh spook. And then she puts her face up to the glass and she feels a buzzing, and she goes, "Oh no, my mind." And then the next chapter you find out that it's just the text alert on her cell phone.
That's kind of like, okay, that reminded me of the joke from the IT crowd.
Oh yeah, where he thinks he's gonna die, but it's
and like it starts vibrating and he thinks he's having a heart attack.
I'm having a heart attack. I'm not joking. Call an ambulance. Oh, it's my phone. And he just awkwardly sits back down.
Yeah, because we're in a church. Oh god, that's what it reminded me of. But I guess my first thing would be my mind if it's gonna get sucked out of me.
Oh no. So I don't understand how she would feel the text message buzz in her phone in her head. Unless she had her hand up on the glass and her phone was also in her hand, but then she would feel it in her hand as well.
She has a flip phone, Meg. Those things
that
like
from 2008
that can stop people's hearts. Actually,
God, it's so weird to have like a kid in a Goosebumps book with a mobile phone.
Yeah, because it really takes you out of the element, but it doesn't really affect the story in any way, shape, or form. In this one, I don't know. I haven't read the other ones.
No, I mean it doesn't really affect the story at all, but it's just strange because like we said, up until this point, all of the books that we've read on this show have been from like 1995 and earlier.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. I feel like if this, well, I guess they're being written now, it's just like everyone's getting stupider, so the entire book is like R.L. Stein's next book he writes, you open it up, it's just all emojis.
Oh my god.
Like the whole book is just emojis and memes.
God. And then I said, what are those?
R.L. Stein, please write that book. I'd actually want to try to review that and get a brain aneurysm.
Okay. I've come up with the worst thing ever. I'm about to say something that's just really bad. Imagine Slappy dabbing.
Or don't
Goosebumps
you mean
2.
Meg? Don't you mean slabbing?
No. He's a bad boy. He's one bad dude. That Slappy is one bad mother. Shut your mouth. I'm just talking about Slappy.
Oh my god.
So she goes home to have dinner, and Ethan is being annoying with Mr. Bad Boy during dinner the whole time.
And like, isn't he's like insulting all the food?
Insulting everybody.
and it gets to the point of where she starts screaming at the stupid dummy, and Brittany's parents keep defending Ethan, even though he's like Damien's stepbrother.
I know, it's like this kid is carting around a dummy, and he's making it like, well, as far as they know, they don't know that Slappy's alive, obviously. We do, because he's been in like 95 books before this one. But they don't know that Slappy's alive. They assume that this is Ethan doing it. At this point, I would be really worried that, like, oh god, my nephew is gonna grow up to be that guy from Batman with the ventriloquist dummy.
Or like they just wake up and just sitting there staring at them.
Yeah.
Like Ethan's just like, in a rocking chair with like Slappy on his hand.
What's that, Mr. Bad Boy? I should stab my family.
Red rum.
Yeah, so, they're like, please don't make fun of Mr. Bad Boy. Ethan obviously needs a friend to talk to. More like, please don't make fun of Mr. Bad Boy. Ethan is going to stab us if we say anything mean.
How's the food? Because like, doesn't he also like set up like the little table meal for Mr. Bad Boy? Even though he
like, what is this, the boy or something?
Maybe it's just like he has a friend. We should let him eat. It's just like so like they can play into his psychosis.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like this is. I guess it's.
I mean, like,
scary.
then again, he is in like the second grade. So
is he? Oh yeah, he's supposed to be in the third grade, so he's like 8.
So I mean, I guess it's okay,
Yeah.
but it's still kind of
I
like.
was thinking of. I'm so used to all of the kids in these books being 12 that I think of them.
12, you might have a problem. 8,
12, it's definitely a problem. 8, you can get away with it, I guess.
you can get away with it.
Yeah.
So he starts insulting them, and then she's like, "The dummy's alive and stuff," and like blah 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 blah, and they go up to their rooms.
Okay, I gotta read like my favorite. Some of Slappy's burns in this book are really funny, and I gotta read.
Oh, my
one of
favorite are the one
ones.
he gets to the retirement home.
Oh, we'll get to that. Oh, but okay. Mr. Bad Boy, Ethan pleaded. Please be nice to Brittany. The dummy's eyes stared into mine. I know we've just met, he said in his harsh, raspy voice, but I'm a very romantic dude, and I have 3 little words I'm dying to say to you. 3 little words? I asked. Mr. Bad Boy nodded. Yeah, take a bath. Oh. Oh, and then, like, that's so good that even she laughs at it, and it's making fun of her.
Yeah, no, like, Slappy's really funny.
Slappy's hilarious. He's not scary.
I wanted to, like, if he wasn't, like, pure evil, I'd probably, hang out and, like, go to improv nights with him. I feel like that would be, like...
Yeah.
Like, he'd be, like, the master of, like, the roast.
Oh, man. Like, they should get, like, next Comedy Central roast has to be Slappy.
The roast of Slappy?
Yeah, the
roast of R.L. Stein.
The roast of R.L. Stein, hosted by Slappy.
So, yeah, so they go up to their room, and, I don't know, they come down for the next day, and Slappy pushes Brittany down the stairs, and she, like, falls, like, halfway down before stopping.
Yeah, have you ever fallen down the stairs?
All the time.
I've fallen down the stairs. I fell down one entire flight of stairs once when I was a kid.
So then, like, Ethan and Slappy come down to investigate, and Slappy goes to her ear and says, I'll kill you if you snitch again.
Yeah, I'll kill you if you snitch on me again. Oh, whoa, Slappy.
And I just imagine, like, he pulls out a knife, snitches get stitches. Like, what am I looking at? Because they're getting ready to go to the retirement home. They just go to a retirement home for some weird reason.
Oh, I don't know. Was it like, didn't they mention that it's like the school,
It's like community service
the
program
school
they have.
that has like a community service class, which we did at my high school, but I didn't do the retirement home one. I did the one.
I worked in my library.
Yeah, I did the hospital.
So they go to the retirement home, and Ethan's gonna do a stand-up routine with Mr. Bad Boy and Meg.
And
do you want to talk about them burns?
No. Well, first of all, the old people get some real good burns in because Molly is teaching a painting class.
That modern art, I don't get it.
Oh, I hate modern art. Oh, you're dripping paint on the floor.
Is this like your horror story as like an artist, Meg?
Oh, definitely. Like, I can barely handle when like the worst thing is when people come up to you and say, "What are you drawing an anime for?"
Is that when like you like stab him in the neck with your pen?
Definitely. No, when you want to stab them in the neck with the pen is when you're drawing a person and you haven't drawn the clothes on yet. And somebody's like, "Why is he naked?" Because I haven't drawn the clothes yet.
But yeah, so
Anyway,
then Ethan goes up onto the stage,
and those
then
old people get schooled.
they get Meg. Do you want to school them for us?
I'm just trying to find the page.
Because these are like I just imagine like the meanest, like crustiest old people in the world.
Yeah, you have to, or else this isn't as funny because you don't feel like they deserve it.
Like this is like the retirement home for people that's humor has already passed.
This is the retirement home for people who are not who are still perfectly physically capable of taking care of themselves, but their families just don't like them because they're mean.
They try to put me on a diet, so I put myself in this home.
Yeah, they put the music up too loud. No, okay. So, Mr. Bad Boy says, "Know how I can tell when someone is old?" He asked Ethan. "How?" "By the smell." Mr. Bad Boy tossed back his head and cackled. "That's not funny," Ethan scolded him. "Yeah," Mr. Bad Boy shot back. "That joke stinks, and so do they." A few people gasped. The room got very quiet. Oh, and this one's particularly, brutal.
Which one's, the one that gets them kicked out?
Do you know the difference between an old person and roadkill? No, Ethan said. Neither do I, Mr. Bad Boy cried. This is not allowed, Mrs. Berman shouted from the back of the room. Ethan, your jokes are insulting people. Your face is insulting me, Mr. Bad Boy explained. Oh, Mr. Bad Boy.
He's the roast master. He should get, the golden coffee, grinder.
Yeah, so, Molly, they try to talk to Molly's dad because he's, an expert on arcane items, and at this point, they're pretty sure that Slappy is alive. But Molly's dad is on some island near Australia. I just imagine, he tried to get into customs, but he had, a shrunken hag in his bag. So they detained him and they put him on Christmas Island.
Whoops, he accidentally had, a banana slug.
Oops, he accidentally had some dirt on his shoe. That's my hot take on Australian customs. They start looking through a book and they find an old picture of Mr. Bad Boy and they realize that he's not really Mr. Bad Boy. He is
Slappy. I feel like when they're flipping through the book, they go from the 1800s and it'll be funny. It's look at all these kids in the 90s that had Slappy.
Yeah, I know. That would have been so funny.
I just thought of if this was the TV show, they'd have they flip the page and then they have the kids faces from they'd actually take screenshots of the other.
Yeah, screenshots from but with a 90s Polaroid filter.
Yeah, and then it's wow, look at this. And the winner of this is that the journal has the way to awaken up Slappy as a passage. So he doesn't have to have his little card.
Ah.
Which is the smoking gun of this. So isn't afterwards, they go home and then Brittany gets a phone call from Molly. Said, we got to get rid of this mind stealer. It's freaking me out, man.
Well, they try to read the words that they think are going to kill Slappy, basically. But this is before that, and this is what you alluded to earlier about there being a twist of whether or not Slappy's really alive. They have this kind of fake out where they find a remote control in Ethan's pocket of his pants that he's left lying around. And when they push it, Slappy starts talking, and so they think, oh, he's not really alive. Ethan's just been trolling us this entire time.
Yes, and it has to be all because of the microchip? No, the computer chip.
All because of the microchips. This must be microchipped or something.
That's what I was thinking of.
But then that turns out to be a dream, and I really liked that because usually in these books, they're not very, that would have worked better if we didn't, know for certain that Slappy was actually alive because he has been in so many other books before.
But I think it's a good twist because you're expecting it, and then it's it's nature versus, the supernatural and how...
which one's real, and for a second you don't really know, and I think that's pretty cool that R.L. Stine was I'm gonna throw him a curveball for a little bit and not just stick to one thing.
And then it goes to it backfires and they accidentally awaken Slappy, and then they're oh no, and Slappy's oh yes.
Oh yeah, so I was wrong. The part where they were digging up the hole to put the mind sealer in happened before that. Because I think before they found the journal, they thought that the Mind Stealer somehow, like, brought Slappy to life.
Oh, yeah, so then that's when, like, Molly calls Brittany in the middle of the night, and they decide to, like, get shovels while it's raining and dig a hole in the cemetery. Like, it's a thing that happens in, I guess, life. And no one watching. Apparently there's no guard in the cemetery.
Yeah, like, who wants to guard the cemetery? Like, the dead people aren't going anywhere.
It's the easiest job ever. The only thing you have to worry about is the dead zone of your cell phone.
Because if horror movies have taught us anything, graveyards have really terrible cell reception.
Yes. And also people that, I guess, dig graves. So they dig it, they throw it in, and the jump scare from the beginning of the book turns out to be Ethan.
Womp, womp. Slappy needs the Mind Stealer because it will make people more, if he can steal people's minds with the Mind Stealer, it will make them more
slavey.
It'll make them more, like, pliant and willing to become his slaves.
And that's when the weird shit starts happening with Slappy. Like, okay, slave. Like, it gets...
Yeah, this made me uncomfortable.
It kind of made me uncomfortable, too. I guess you have to put yourself in the mindset of that's what he did in the 90s. But, because we're looking at it from being in 2018 rather than...
Yeah, we're looking at it from being adults and knowing what kind of...
what type of human beings we are compared to what kids...
Yeah, and also, this is like... I have read some kinky fan fiction in my time, and this exact scenario happens in some of them.
Apparently he takes Brittany hostage, and...
Which, once again, just kick him. He's tiny.
But, so, like, he ends up in the cemetery again, and it's raining, it's pouring. The old man's kind of snoring a little bit, but not really. And...
The old man's in an island near Australia.
Yeah, so she's digging the grave, and he sees the glass case, and the Slappy's about to jump off her and go into the the grave to get this Mind Stealer when the lights turn on, and it turns out that they brought a car into the cemetery, and it's the parents.
Well, you can bring cars into cemeteries. If they're big ones, they'll have, like...
No, I'm just thinking it's, like, in the middle of, like, they just, like, crushed over a bunch of graves.
What were you imagining her, like, crashing through the gates and then, like, running over a bunch of graves?
Yeah, in a mom's station wagon.
Yeah.
So, and they're like, put the doll down, Brittany, don't throw the... Because they think that she's trying to get rid of Slappy. Because apparently that's the worst thing you could possibly do.
And then Slappy says... When Slappy realizes that she's been, foiled, he says to her... You are a big loser.
Yeah, because, like, they're going to ground her forever. And, like...
Yeah.
Even Slappy doesn't want to be with this girl.
No.
So, Brittany gets so mad that she throws him against the glass of the Mind Stealer. It shatters. And all of a sudden, they start hearing, like, a buzzing sound. And
there's glowing.
And... Slappy is just a dummy again.
The Mind Stealer stole Slappy's mind.
Which I kind of felt like that's what they were setting up to be.
That is a good setup, honestly. Like, you introduce the element, and then you think it's gonna kind of do... They think it's gonna do one thing, and then it ends up being the opposite thing?
Well, it's kind of like in most, like, movies, where the thing that the villain's trying to get ends up being the thing that foils him.
Hoisted by his own petard.
Yeah.
As Shakespeare would say. Slappy's got his mind erased.
And the end.
The end.
Yeah, there's no crescendo to this.
Well, he does, at the end, it's Slappy calling to me from inside the buried doll. I'll be back, Brittany. I'm a bad boy. That's Slappy.
And then... we cut to the B storyline, that's Horrorland, and...
Enter Horrorland.
Meg, this is the weirdest thing, is... I love, like, the design they have if you get, like, the ticket when you open the page.
Yes!
And I love the invitation, it just says, Dear Brittany Cronsby, let the scares begin. You have won a free week-long stay at Horrorland theme park, the scariest place on Earth. Bring your parents, bring your friend Molly.
You're not reading it correctly, because, like, every like, third word in this is capitalized, so it's bring your parents, bring your friend Molly Malloy. Bring something to feed the werewolves.
I can't say Molly. Oh, yeah, you're right. You've enclosed free passes to Crocodile Cafe, where you grab a quick bite and a free ticket to our challenging Swim with a Hungry Shark ride. Is that like the same ride that Michael Phelps was just on?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. Hope you're a fast swimmer. You don't need a ticket to the bottomless quicksand pit. Drop in any time. We know you and Molly will never forget your stay at our famous hotel, Stagger Inn. It's a real scream. Really. For really real. So come be our ghost. Oops, we mean guest.
We look forward to scaring you. Please.
RSVP to die quickly. Zach, did you write this? Did you ghostwrite this book?
I wish I could.
These puns.
You know, if I was to write a book, it would be like this. You get very, like, Haunted Mansion-esque puns in this. It's, like, the greatest thing. So
they're very good.
Luckily, this is, like, really short.
Yeah.
So Molly and the family, Ethan's gone home. He's not there. No.
Yeah.
So, like, he's
there.
been, like,
he's in therapy.
Yeah, so they go driving to Horrorland. It's like, ooh, this big, scary, fun place. Apparently, they could find parking, even though all the parking lots are filled. So, a regular theme park, luckily.
Yeah.
They get to the main gate, and that's when they meet the horror? Yeah. Who has a British accent, is just this gigantic, like, monster. He's like, oh, hello there.
I'm imagining Stephen Merchant, honestly, for the voice.
I was thinking Mr. Bean voice.
Yeah.
Like Rowan Atkinson.
So, everything is free because they won this in a contest, even though Brittany has no memory of entering a contest. So that should have been a big, big red flag. Because you get an email that's like, you won a contest. It's spam, guys.
It's right next to
spam.
You see the Horrorland tickets are right next to, you know, you related to like a Nigerian prince.
Yeah. Come to Horrorland and meet the Nigerian prince that has all your money.
And there's also sexy singles in the area.
Yeah.
And they don't actually they do kind of question it, but the thing they're like, oh, it's a theme park. Clearly they know our information.
Yeah, clearly the NSA has given all of our personal information to this corporate entity.
I wouldn't hold it against them.
Well, one of my favorite bits in this book is, are those buzzards? Mum asked, shielding her eyes with one hand. Don't buzzards feed on dead things? Dad laughed. They're probably animated robots or something. Very clever. And that just made me think of in Body Parts, that line that's, and the time zone part with the computer robots was unreal. My favorite roller coaster at Australia's Wonderland, The Beast. When you walked up to that, they had some animatronic buzzards.
That's kind of cool. But ironically, there's a Fear Street book all about The Beast, the one in Ohio.
There's a Beast roller coaster in Ohio?
Yeah, there used to be two, but It was The Beast and Son of the Beast. It was, of course, in Ohio, so Arlstein had to write about it.
Oh, no, definitely.
So yeah, that's when like they go inside and like, we're gonna go check into our hotel, and they go up into like a cab, and there's another like horror in there, and he's like, "Buckle up, buckaroos."
When they arrive at Horrorland, the first horror that they meet pulls out some kind of recording device.
Oh yeah, they gotta catalog their screams.
Yeah, instead of stamping the back of your hand or giving you a wristband or something, the way that they identify that you are, like, authorized to be there is they record you screaming, and then they check your screams against a database. And that is just... I know it's for, like, it's because it's Horrorland, and it's, like, everything has to be, like, scary and weird and uncomfortable, but that's so complicated.
You mean it's so radical, right?
I mean, of course I mean that.
Meg, tell me you would not want to scream into a microphone at an amusement park, and it tells you, "Oh yeah, you're Meg."
Oh, and also the guy sets fire to their suitcases, which was hilarious.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh my god, I keep forgetting. Like, not like I read this book in a hot minute, but it's kind of like you get the two stories mixed up a little bit.
Yeah,
that's the problem with this.
Quite different. Quite a different format than what we're used to, having the two stories in one book.
Yeah, no, but that was funny. So, like, he sets fire to it, and the dad's like, I guess it's a magic trick. Even though, like, they describe, like, the suitcases are, like, boiling and popping.
Yeah, good Good, real realistic special effects. Where's our real suitcases? No, but really, where are they? But really, where are they? And they just like, and the horror just like leaves.
Yeah, because I feel like all of them have like really awful customer service. Like, whatever.
I mean, if you, I don't understand how like I know this was 2008, but like Horrorland in the age of Yelp and TripAdvisor would not be able to sustain itself because everybody would be posting like, yeah, they set fire to my bags. And then I was in the werewolf petting zoo, and the werewolf tried to eat me, and I fell down the doom slide into, like, a bottomless pit with spikes at the bottom, and 0 out of 10, would not recommend.
See, this is where it's like Welcome to Dead House. They probably paid people to, like, write 5-star reviews.
Yeah, I keep forgetting about that. So they get in the cab, and
that's when they gun it. It's like Mad Max, like, type of gunning.
And then everyone, including the driver, jumps out of the cab at the same time.
Because it's like he's trying to explain all the landmarks while like he's like looking behind him and stuff. And he's like, oh, I better slow down now. And he starts hitting the brakes. Oh no, it's not working.
Oh no, they cut the brakes.
They cut the brakes. I told the people in the garage it was time to change the brakes, but they never listened.
I gotta read out some of these attraction names at Horrorland. So you got the Vampire State Building. Let that sink in for a little bit. And then Worm and Bait Shop, all you can eat. And my personal favorite, TV's hit show, Dancing with the Squids. And in my notes I have written, wow, Splatoon 2 looks really good.
Don't you mean Splatoon World?
Splatoon World, yeah. The inevitable Just Dance Splatoon crossover.
Actually, I'm trying to imagine like just dancing with the squid, Meg, and it's every way I think about it, it confuses me more and more in life. But yeah, so they crash out of the car, and the horror's like, this is the easiest job in the world. I don't even have my driver's license. The worst thing is I have to fall out of this car 26 times a day.
That was hilarious to me. Just like
that's like my dream job, besides being a skipper on the Jungle Cruise.
So Brittany says, from now on, I am not going to believe anything. From now on, I'm going to remember everything here is a total fake. Followed up with, famous last words? Yes.
Yeah, and then that's when they walk into the Stagger, and yeah, so they they check in, and the family's like, we're going to go to our rooms, Molly and Brittany. I still hate you. Go over to your rooms, and we're going to, meet up for dinner later. And isn't it to get there, and like, all their stuff's there.
Yeah, so maybe it was a trick that they burned their bags.
Or it's all, like, Star Trek magic, and they just beamed it to their location.
Yeah. Maybe the fire was like a teleporting ray, but it just looked like it was burning.
Yeah. Let's try with a human now, for science reasons.
The horrors are aliens.
It's like Killer Clowns from Outer Space. They don't know better.
Exactly. They are the aliens that brought us the idea of theme parks.
Yes. As I look up into the sky. Take me with you to your home planet.
So, they go into a room where the walls are covered with human faces?
Yeah, horror stuff. Nightmare, like psychiatry.
Theme park, fun for kids.
I've heard of a wailing wall, but this is ridiculous.
Oh, and they see their own faces on the wall, which freaks them right out.
Like, this is like the wall in Labyrinth. Like, when she goes down, it's the little, like, Muppet creatures.
Yes. It's exactly like that.
Then they're like, we're spooked real bad. We're just going to go back and say, we're going to get our pants.
Oh, it was in a store called Make a Face. Because there's this Horrorland series has continuity. I can't help thinking that this is the guy from the Haunted Mask that sold Carly Veth the Haunted Mask. This is what he's doing now.
Well, there is a Haunted Mask book.
Yeah.
Because, doesn't it, like, afterwards they get spooked so bad that they're like, we're gonna get out of here. This vacation sucks.
Yes. Oh, and then they find... Here's where, like, the plot of the overarching plot kicks in, because I have read one of these Horrorland books before. And this is where the overarching plot starts. The horror drops a note in Brittany's hand. He's like, get out of here as fast as you can. And he drops a note in Brittany's hand, and she opens up, and it says, find the other park.
What other park?
And, do you, like, I don't know, I could spoil it, because I know. I know what other park.
I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
Well, I won't tell you.
So they go pound on their parents' door. We gotta get out of here. And the door swings open, and there's no one there except Dad has left his digital camera clicking away.
His digital camera that he has because it's 2008.
Yeah, so it's like, oh, I bet maybe it might be a clue on this camera, as kids do. And they look at it, and Meg, what is on this camera?
Slappy's on the camera!
And the book ends. I'm excited for that. Like, I like...
Can I talk about the fear file at the back? So, at the back of these, much like the new Naughty's reprints of all the old Goosebumps book have these, like, little, fact sections and, like, fun activities, this has the fear file at the back. So, you got fear file number 1. And on the first page of it, there's a little clip from a newspaper that's been circled, and it says, searching for any info about the history of Horrorland theme park. Postcards, photos, etc. Contact lm1 at escapehorrorland.com. So this is just R.L. Stein's doing something really different here. He's trying like a new sort of supplementary material, scrapbooky style of building up his world and backstory rather than having the characters exposit it, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I love that about this. I love when they have world building in anything.
This is like real good. This is like real A+ world building. That I love this kind of thing. And then you have the Doom service menu from the Stagger Inn. Chef Gurgitate's proud motto, eat or be eaten. Please note, the kitchen is closed from midnight to 6 a.m. for daily repairs and rounding up of escaped ingredients. Breakfast, cereal, your choice of Mice Krispies, Dirt Loops, Yucky Charms, or Cinnamon Scabs. Now with more scab. Fruit bat salad. Now, no one can make a salad out of a fruit bat like Chef Gurgitate. Served with tangy animal fingals. What?
That's gross.
Small. That's really gross. The yolk's on you. A different egg dish every morning, and it's so easy to pick out the bones. Oh.
No.
Oh, that's that. Now I'm just thinking about that, what's that thing they eat in the Philippines?
I don't know.
It's like a duck's egg with the baby duck in it, and they eat that.
I don't know.
The whole thing.
It's a thing that exists.
It definitely exists. I've seen it on like Anthony Bourdain or one of those travel shows where they eat weird stuff. Squeezings. Start your day with a tall stack of the chef's famous squeezings collected from around the parks. That is disgusting.
Everything about this is disgusting, but watch it. It just tastes amazing when you actually have it. It's all this theme food, Meg.
That's so vague and horrible.
Where do you think all the lost children go, Meg? It goes into the Soylent Green pudding.
Soylent Green is people.
So enthusiastic.
Yeah, it's because that's low-hanging fruit now. Like, everybody does Soylent Green is people. Then you have a map of the castle, which is the Stagger Inn. And out the front, you've got like what looks to be a hearse. Or an old-timey ambulance, maybe. Which is pretty funny. And then after that, there's the list of the other Goosebumps books, and that's it.
So, Meg, did you like this book?
Yeah, I did. I mean, the second part was kind of a bunch of things happening. Obviously, he's doing it to set up the next book, but, like, there's no plot. It's just sort of like, oh, spooky. Oh, another spooky. And Slappy was the camera the whole time. Guys, it's the camera.
I felt like the A story was just something that, he had to write. And then when he got, like, the B story is really what he wanted to write. Yeah,
I see what you mean, because the first story, the Revenge of the Living Dummy story, is really just like a rehashing of all of the other Night of the Living Dummy books. But I really liked the beginning of it.
Well, I mean, no, it's perfectly, like, the scenes in this that are actually scary or spooky scary.
Fine. It's fine to write, but, like, you're right. In the Horrorland ones, that's R.L. Stine, like, having fun and doing something different.
I think maybe because he was like, hey, guys, we need to reboot, like, this universe instead of just having it as, you guys know these characters, but because we know them, but not to a kid from 2008.
Yeah.
That he has to like reestablish what these characters are, plus new ones, of course. And then that's where you get the idea to establish the Horrorland. But it's gonna get confusing when you have to like actually like read these books and remember maybe like who those kids are, because I feel like there's a lot of books here.
So many of them. So, what are we gonna be reading next week, Zach?
Well, Meg, we didn't pick this next book, did we? Oh yeah, no. Don't you remember from our interview with Tim Jacobus? Everyone listened to that episode. This room just got 10 degrees colder. Meg, can you guess what we're going to be reading next week?
Just tell me. Rip the Band-Aid off real quick.
Why I Quit the Babysitter Club?
Tune in next week to hear me die on air.
It's okay, Meg. You know that the stars were aligned when Tim Jacobus told us what we needed to read.
Like, I am right now, I'm not wearing my Fitbit bracelet, but right now I could tell you that if I was wearing it, it would say heart rate 100.
No, it's just gonna flatline.
I am ready to die.
Are you actually prepared to read this book, Meg?
I'm prepared to face this, fear that has haunted me for... What's 24 minus 12? Is it 8? It's haunted me for 8 years of my life.
Are you ready to face this fear, Meg?
I'm ready to face it head on.
Are you ready? Are you ready to quit the Babysitter Club?
I was never in the Babysitters Club, Zach. That's my secret. Yeah. I'm actually like freaking out a little bit.
Probably don't worry, we'll be here, and also our listeners. Well,
the listeners will be here to like, laugh at my pain.
Meg, I got this really spooky message in the mail, and guess what I got?
In the mail?
Yes, in the mail, in the actual mail? United States Postal Service.
What?
It is 101 Silly Monster Jokes by Jovial Bob Stein.
Jovial Bob Stein himself?
Yes.
AKA our friend and boy, R.L. Stein.
Yep, so before he wrote Goosebumps and everything, he wrote joke books. So someone in my family, I want to say my aunt, found this and mailed it to me. So every week I'm going to read a joke now. Ready for the jokes, joke? Meg? Are you ready?
Wait, do we want to... Okay, how about do we have any, like, listener mail or...
No, we have none.
Reviews? Okay, so...
How does a monster count to 345, Meg?
I don't know.
On his fingers. Thank you. We're here all night. So yeah, every week.
You've been a great audience.
We're gonna read a joke. So we have 101 episodes.
So where can they find you on Twitter, Zach?
So if you want to find me personally, you can find me at Suda41, or if you want to follow our show, it's at Night Fear Street. If you want to follow us on all the other places, it's just Nightmare on Fear Street. If you want to email our show and howl in the spooky darkness, it's nightmareandfearstreet@gmail.com. Where can they find you, Meg?
They can find me at Meg Tuden on Twitter. That's at MAGTUTEN. I am sodasodabanana.tumblr.com, and you can also check out my other show, the Trivial Terror Podcast, which is available on Podbean and iTunes. And if you want to check out our web zone, you can go to ghoulishfancies.com, is it?
Yes, radical. Don't forget to ask for your parents' permission first before using our website.
Make sure nobody's on the phone before you go to our web zone.
That's only if you want to look at the pictures, of course.
Yes.
Well, I'm Zach.
I'm Meg.
And stay spooky. Bye.